Okay, let me try to see. Something paused here, but let me try to do it again. Okay, I think it's time to get started. Um, if other people come in, that's fine. I'm going to have to stop sharing the audio so I can go in here and share my screen here. So let me go ahead and do that. Hello everybody, this is Cody Weinmann from Composition Online. This is a 6-minute Composition Online webinar discussing what skills and attributes a composer needs. So some of these may surprise you guys. Not only we will be talking about some of the various skills and attributes that a composer may have. Some of them may surprise you. Just off the bat, knowledge of music theory and trying to put it all together, study of counterpoint, all those things, those are actually very much needed. You need a lot of skill in color study and orchestration. It's very important. Um, uh, and it all factors in, all of that factors into gaining musicality. And I may go into another webinar on musicality itself. But while musicality and skills learned in multiple music theory and composition concepts are essential to gaining one's own style, gaining one's own ear, some weightier qualities must be explored. And one thing that a lot of composers run into is that art is a very delicate process. And sometimes we have a bad day or we have a bad week or a bad month or whatever we're doing. And it takes a lot of mental energy and stamina to be a composer. I've noticed in my studies that sometimes I would get, frustrated with a piece, toss it aside, go for a walk, do whatever I do. And honestly, when I let it go for a bit, like for maybe just a few minutes, the ideas, to me, they'll start coming. The solutions will start coming. So art is a very delicate process. Again, it takes a lot of mental energy and stamina to be a composer, but you also have to write and take breaks, write and take pauses in order to um, make your compositions the best that they can be. Okay, so attribute one. This is something that we need to really hit on. A lot of composers hit on this. One must possess an intense amount of passion to be a composer. I mean, you got to have the amount of passion that will allow you to sit at a desk or in a practice room with an instrument for pencil and paper for hours at a time You got to have that energy, that fire. That passion prompts the eagerness and the urgency to want to do more of the craft. Um, the passion also allows you the courage to move forward with the work when it's not going well. Um, the passion could be described as a kind of fire. We go into composition because there's this fire, there's this unquenchable thirst to do this, to make these things good. Same thing with piano or an instrument. I talk to my piano students all the time and say, hey, I'm here because I love to do this. I love to teach you. I love to share these things with you. And that's one of the things we have to do. If you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to want to put in the time. So there has to be a fire in your soul to do this. It's very brave work. Attribute number 2 kind of goes into the previous slide, patience. You need the patience and the courage to do this art. Any art is a gradual thing. You have to chip away at your composition one bit at a time. And it's like a puzzle. You're putting these pieces to the puzzle together, and it's one thing after another. Oh, okay, this section over here. Sometimes when I compose, I jump around. I don't know if anybody else jumps around. Sometimes a lot of composers jump around to different sections. Okay, well, this comes into my head first. Okay, I'll put that on there. And then, oh, well, then I could develop this section. And a lot of times I'll end up doing this where it comes together. I'll be interlocking two portions together. And it sometimes takes a lot of time. Sometimes takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. Um, if you're hitting a snag with your composition, it's important that you spend some time playing or listening to the stuff which you have already composed. Doing that will give you the tremendous stamina to move forward. Look for ways in which the above areas could be further enhanced. So if you play through your piece and you say, oh, well, this could be, better done this way. Repeated attempts are always good. And do bullet number 3 multiple times, as many times needed to keep your focus and your spirit up. Okay? So not worrying so much about what remains to be done, but what you've already done and how you can improve. Musicality. One must possess a certain degree of musicality. This may come in the form of having an ear for music. How do you increase your musicality? Intense study of music theory and composition across many different styles and genres. This includes several instances of score study, intense score study. Listen to as much music in as many different genres and styles as you can. Composers are often like sponges. We take in a lot of different musical ideas from others and often work them into our own compositional styles. So that's really, really important. Listen to as much music and study as many scores as you can. Final attribute, technical skills. In today's world, it is increasingly important that composers adapt some level of technical know-how through using DAWs, digital audio workstations, and notation software programs to compose, publish, and print professional sheet music. There are free and paid software programs out there, such as MuseScore, and the link is down there below, musescore.org/en. And that can help you if you don't have the funds for one of the other, bigger programs. You can start with that. Even those who still handwrite scores and sketches need to learn to have it at their disposal. Because we need to learn how to print what we've done by hand into the computer system. And sometimes that could be very, very challenging and add to our time. So If you guys have any questions, now's the time I'm going to open it up and let me know. And I'll stay on for just maybe a minute or two. If you guys have any questions, you could put them in chat or you could just ask me directly. Um, so this is Cody Weinmann from Composition Online. Feel free to contact me. My contact information is on this slide here. So I got my email here. I've got the monthly option for Composition Online and the bi-monthly group option. And also you can catch me on YouTube at the following channels. So
Outstanding
a lot of good
presentation.
stuff. Okay. So I will see you probably 2 weeks from now. We're going to be doing a different set of webinars. I got so much planned, and it's going to be so fun. So this is Cody Wyman from Composition Online again, signing off. Have a good day, guys. Okay.
Great job, Cody. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It could use some work, but yeah, it works.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people go into I don't know if they go into the whole psyche of composing because it is a challenge. It is a really I mean it's a great art. I love to use
Sure.
it. I love to do it every day. Although sometimes I've heard composers say I don't really like the composition process, but I like having written. You know, I like that I've written things, but I don't like the whole process of it. I don't know how much I agree. Because for me, composition is my go-to. I mean, seriously, when I'm struggling through the day or whatever, if I don't have my practice time and my composition time every day, my mood just goes way down.
Hmm.
And I have to have that as part of my routine. You know, one of the composers, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Frank Kelly.
Oh yeah, I know Frank. I met him in Chicago.
He's a USC professor, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was saying, he was talking to somebody or talking at a conference, and he was saying something like, you know, it's like a blue collar job for me, like doing the time, you know,
Hmm.
sitting at a desk and doing some hard work and having a bad day or bad week, like I said in the webinar about, you know, really putting that time in, you know, and the more time you give to it, the more it gives back to you. Um, and I think that's really, really important as a composer is to, you know, relish your time doing this because, you know, otherwise you know, if you don't, you're not going to want to learn more. You know, you got to have this thirst. So,
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. One of the things too, I think we can learn also, like in my case, I also conduct, I perform. I'm sure you do the same. We can learn so much about composition from the other different ways to interpret and perform music.
oh,
And I always
yeah,
feel
of
like
course.
every aspect kind of influences each other. Something for us to
Yeah.
keep in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess I forgot to put that tip in the webinar. Make sure you get performances of your music because I mean, when I did my first ever band piece when I was in college, I was sophomore level in college, and
Wow.
while a lot of other people were writing like piano and voice or piano and instrument, I decided to write a whole big 25 part symphonic band score with the parts and everything. And I would go over it with the band director, and you know, we went back and forth. And you know, I learned through that trade, you know, where should I thickly score everything and where should it even out? So that work was kind of a test of the waters to see, because I hadn't taken orchestration yet in the sequence of courses. So
Mm.
it was a learning experience for me, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, you know. First piece, you know, going. I remember going into the band room, and you know they were rehearsing it, and I just happened to slip in, you know, just slip in and just you know record, put my little recorder on, and try to capture some of that rehearsal. Um, and then he's like, "Oh, well, speaking of, here's the composer of the work, you know, that we're gonna do." And it was weird because they had a composition and concerto competition, like at the school I went to. I think it's a yearly thing. And nobody else submitted a composition to the composition side. So I was
Mm.
like, that's not fair. I didn't have any challenge. You, I did, but I didn't. You know, it was like I just kind of did it, you know, and it was really fun, like talking to the people, you know, um, talking to the performers, like, hey, how can I make this better? You know, I know there's some little tinkering that we have to do with some of the parts, but how can I make it better for you? You know,
Ah,
it's so important to have that working relationship with performers and conductors.
absolutely.
Because
And
if you,
it
yeah,
makes such a difference.
if you don't, it's you're kind of like composing in a vacuum. You never want to do that. MIDI can only take you so
Absolutely.
far.
I
So,
agree with you. It makes such a difference to hear it live. And I also I love conducting and performing my own works, and I learn something new every time in that
yeah,
experience and conducting works of others.
yeah. Yeah, and we were given also an opportunity. We were doing it in an arranging class. We were arranging stuff for the band to play, and I remember, you know, rehearsing and conducting my band arrangement. I'm like, wow, this is a totally different, you know, it's like composing versus you know, like doing it live, and that's a real it's a real shift. But I like both because that way, you know, I'm not like in my own little corner, you know, just writing with stuff. You know, we can't be hermits. We kind of have to
Exactly.
be out, you know. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
it was really fun. I think 2 weeks, the 2 week time slot is a good thing
Yes.
between webinars, just because also I have piano students that I teach, so
Sure.
and their recital is this weekend. So
Ah,
I've been
best of luck with them.
prepping them, and the end of the end of the school semester for us is here. So we're doing our annual recital. So you know, I'm prepping them to be ready to go, and we're doing that virtually too. That's the first time we've ever done a virtual recital that way
Well, that
since
should
the
be
COVID.
really something.
So hopefully it goes well, and yeah, I'd like to I'd like to see more people come on this.
That's
Um,
wonderful. You're doing a
yeah,
great job, and let's just get the word out to as many people as we can, cover as many platforms as we can, because it's just wonderful the work you're doing.
yeah, yeah, and I'll continue doing it. I have a whole list of webinar titles and a whole bunch of ideas. And before
Okay.
I started with the composition online, I was already doing like a Friday noon session, a Friday noon class
Yeah.
in theory and in composition, just to have people come and ask their questions. I have my father-in-law or my stepfather-in-law. He's wanting to get into music theory and all that piano and stuff. And so he would come on the webinars, and I would, you know, sort of coach him or coach whoever comes on. You
Wow.
know, this is how you do this. You know, ask me your questions. I'm here for you guys. I love to educate as well as compose. So um, that's why I have those two YouTube channels, to share my music and to share my experiences, and to also um, share my tips, because I know it could be hard doing this. So,
So wonderful. You're just doing a great job. I can't wait to see your next webinar, and I look forward to being in touch. We'll work together to keep building your following, and you're just doing a great job. I appreciate all your hard work.
all right, thanks. So I guess I will see you all in 2 weeks.
I
Two
look
weeks,
forward to
Friday
it.
noon.
It should be wonderful. Enjoy the weekend, and best of luck with the piano recital. Sounds great.
Sure, it's gonna be good. All right, take
Take
care.
care. Thanks so much, Cody.
Thanks.
Hey, bye.